What's the nature of your emergency?
Welcome back to the Tactical Living Podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Walton, joined by Sergeant Walton. Glenn, how are you?
I'm good.
Inside of our Police, Fire, Military, and Families Facebook group this morning, I had posed the question about when is a situation where you had to speak up and go against the social norm or what was socially accepted at the time in order to make sure that you were standing by your morals. And my response to that was I used to have a best friend. She was actually my maid of honor in our wedding, and she had her fifth boy, and she decided to turn that fifth boy into a girl. And the conversation kind of blew up this morning. I was telling you, Clint, and I was going into something that nobody is talking about is the psychological ailments of these parents, right? Because we live in a state to where the types of medical intervention that were performed on this boy were detrimental and irreversible, and something that when he discovers that he really is a he, it's going to be something that will impact him for the rest of his life.
Yeah, you're seeing this more and more, these kids who are, I mean, I would call them victims to their parents, because these parents are deciding for them and then brainwashing them to think this way on so many levels. There is the medical condition, but it's such a few and far between percentage that you can't even kind of correlate the two. This is more of an attention grab by a parent, or them wanting a girl instead of a boy in that instance.
Yeah, and she just so happened to fall into it right when, the beginning of the Biden administration and all of this was really blowing up to become socially acceptable. And if you give a 5-year-old boy a Barbie, or if you make a 5-year-old boy wear a dress, guess what? Like, he's going to play with the Barbie and he's going to wear the dress. He's not going to have any choice, because you as the parent are making that decision, not him. And it got me thinking about the importance of learning to lead, and how it does not matter if you have a title or not. Leadership comes in so many different forms. And I know that leadership is one of the biggest complaints, one of the biggest pushbacks that I hear from everybody, regardless of what your profession.
Yeah, learning to lead it's an ongoing process. Like, I regularly do like a self check-in with myself for being a leader within my department, and look at, well, what sergeants, what supervisors did I not like back in the day, and what were those problems? And it's crazy to see the dynamic shift. I remember, being an officer in our department and really seeing those sergeants who recently promote, and you can tell, oh, they're recently promoted. They're they're bringing up all this stuff. They're trying to recreate the will. They're trying to do X, Y, Z. And you're like, what the hell? I hate this. Why are they doing this when they don't have a freaking clue? And so, like, in my supervisory aspect now, is like, I'm never going to be that way. And so, like, if you talk to a lot of the people that I supervise, like, yeah, when you promoted, I mean, nothing's really changed. You're just you're more present, and you're able to adapt to us and teach us a lot more.
Yeah, I think your schedule has just allowed for that. Like, because of your schedule, because of the dynamics of the way that the position of sergeant is set up in your department, it enables you to have that time. And that's what creates a difference. And some people are going to piss that away and, peacock their chests. And then other people are actually going to be proactive and then create this natural level of leadership and respect, which is so important. This is not only work related. I'm thinking about how I exhibit leadership qualities within my family. And an example that's applicable to real time is my brother is getting ready to celebrate his birthday. And I was thinking about the fact that if my mom were here, she would bake him a cake. He's not in a relationship with anybody. Nobody else is going to have the charisma or like the even the thought of like getting a cake for him. So I'm baking him a cake, and then I'll text everybody, my dad and the boys, and then let them know, okay, on this day at this time, we're going to sing happy birthday to my brother. Like, that sounds so simple, but that's me knowing that if I don't do that, nobody else is going to do it. And then them respecting me and then knowing like, okay, like we'll listen to what Ashley has to say. That's a very common, normal thing, especially ever since my mom died. So leadership definitely pours over into who we are as people in real life and not just at work as well.
Yeah, and it's you envelop that in your character and who you are as a person, and it's leading from the front and not leading from the rear, and not using that stick and using the carrot to be that leader within your family, within your community, within your employer.
I'm thinking about a time where I sat down at a table. I don't even remember what this was for, but I sat down at a table with a bunch of strangers. We were asked to do something. And then as soon as the person in charge of all of this left, I'm the one that like said, okay, and asking questions of everybody at the table. Why are you laughing?
It was when you went to Hillsdale College for the Constitution course.
That wasn't it, but similar, very similar to that, to where I don't like to waste time. So if someone says like you have to get this done in 1 hour, like we're not wasting any time. So that I love that you said it, you embody that type of character, because that's 100% the type that I am. But there are a lot of different ways and things that we can do in order to make sure that we're influencing leadership, even if we don't have the title. And I think one of the most important ones is to master the art of respectful communication.
Having open communication with one another is very important. And this is one thing I've learned more recently is there's certain people who need to know the why. And there's a time and place for it. If they want an explanation, well, why are we doing this? They're not being insubordinate. They're just wanting to learn. They're wanting to know, okay, why are we doing this for that? And it's taking that time to articulate it to them and spend that time to teach them in that instance. There are those people, and it's having to have that openness and understanding of there are going to be people, well, why are we doing it this way and not this way? But that's where you, in the onset, create that foundation saying, look, I know you're going to have questions, but for right now, we need to implement this and get this moving, and then there will be time for questions later.
I'm thinking about your personal experience with other people in a leadership position who, in my opinion, absolutely should have never been. I am also thinking about how important it is to build credibility through your actions. So this is the flip side of things. Just because you have a title doesn't make you a leader.
No, and getting a title or a rank does not make you a leader whatsoever. I can have an officer who is a better leader than higher ranking people there, and that's where you lean on that person and teach them more so to groom them to promote to those higher ranks, instead of the old, well, he's my buddy, I want to make sure they get promoted.
It's really sad when you think about professions like law enforcement or fire or military, where like some people are just waiting for some of admin to retire.
Yeah, and it's because you have that person who gets promoted where it wasn't based off of hard work. It wasn't based off of their leadership style. It was just based off of who you know.
Something that you've learned a lot in recent time is to present problems with solutions. Yeah,
if you bring a problem to the table, like already have 3 or 4 different solutions on deck, because if you bring that problem, we all know it's a problem. Well, let's figure out a solution. And if you already have that solution presented, there's no argument.
Something that I think makes you and I very strong leaders, more so for you in your work life, because I don't really see this a lot in your personal life, although there have been times where like you're not working and then somebody from work calls you, and then because you have a personal connection, then this fits. But something that I see from both of us is developing strong relationships, not only with our peers, with our colleagues, with other leaders, but with other people who, let's say, would be of lower ranking, right? Like the custodian, for example, like people always use that, or the plumber, like people always use those types of examples, but I'm just showcasing what I mean. We have never looked at somebody less than or more than based on what they do for work, or how big their house is, or like any of those things. You and I are very much non-discriminatory when it comes to who we engage with, and our genuineness when it comes to building those connections. I want to know everybody. I want to have somebody that I can refer other people to whenever they need the thing that you do.
Yeah, it's those, and this is at every level. Have communication, and it takes 2 seconds to say, hi, good morning, how are you? And that's one of those things that I wish more and more people would do, because instead of just looking at them and throwing them to the side or just ignoring them, like, stop and check on people.
Yeah, for sure. I hope you've gotten some value out of today's episode. If you have, do us a favor, drop a review, subscribe down below. As always, I'm sending you a long, tight hug from my home to yours.